The Cubic version 15.0 release is loaded with new features, improvements, and refinements. These changes have come from the annual survey, technology advances, and requests submitted throughout the year. Our goal with updating Cubic is to keep the product technically state-of-the-art, more efficient, and more pleasing to use. Below are highlights of the major changes and new features found in Cubic version 15.0. There is a new shut-off checkbox on the Billing Information tab to indicate that a customer is shut off. This checkbox will allow the customer to be marked as shut off, but the customer will still be billed as long as the customer status is active. When going into the system controls, underneath the Work Orders tab, the shut-off automation, there is a few new features that have been added that reference this field. The first one, exclude customers marked as shut-off. When this box is checked, when generating shut-off for delinquent notices or generating shut-off work orders, customers with this new field checked will be skipped. The next option, automatically mark customer as shut-off when shut-off work order is completed. When this box is checked, once a shut-off work order is completed, it will check the new shut-off checkbox on the customer. The last option is automatically clear customer shut-off indicator when reconnect work order is completed. When this box is checked, once a reconnect work order is completed, the shut-off checkbox on the customer will be cleared. On the Service Information tab, there is a new Suppress Non-Active Services with No Balance checkbox directly above the services grid. When this box is checked, any non-active services that do not have a balance will be suppressed from the grid. There is now the ability to color code services based on their status. The colors are defined in the system controls by going into the Preferences tab and selecting the button Customer Service Status Color Preferences. An example would to have inactive services be in the color of red, so that way it's easily defined for the user on which services are inactive. When going into a customer that has an inactive service, going to the Services Information tab, the user then can clearly see what services are inactive. Under the Billing Information tab, there is now the ability to flag a customer as tax exempt. There is the ability to enter an activation and deactivation date. These dates are strictly for reference and do not affect when a customer is tax exempt or not. When a customer is marked as tax exempt, all services and charges for a customer will be flagged as a tax exempt transaction, regardless of the tax exempt status of the service. Under the Service Information tab, customer services that are tax exempt can now have an activation date and deactivation date assigned. These dates are strictly for reference and do not affect when a service is tax exempt or not. When accessing a customer sewer service and clicking on the Usage tab, when viewing the detail of a usage history item, if the usage is for a sewer service, where the usage was calculated via summer sewer, a label will now display on the screen indicating this. The text Summer Sewer will display on the right side of the screen in the area under the Cancel button in blue text. When accessing a customer's metered service, on the Usage tab, the rate code's charge usage factor is now shown on the Usage tab of the Service Information window. For customers that have unmetered services, on the Service Information tab, inside of the unmetered service, there is now a new field, serial number, that you can track for unmetered services. As an example, if you bill garbage cans and you have a serial number of the garbage can, that can be entered here. This option is also now available when copying a customer. To determine if the serial number for the unmetered service should be copied, you would select this box here shown in the Copy Customer screen. A new meter size file maintenance program has been added to store available sizes for each service type. The new maintenance program is located underneath General, Rates, and Meter Sizes. In here is where you can add all of your available meter sizes per service type, then add it to each individual rate based on their minimum charges. This file gets automatically created during the 15.0 data conversion with meter sizes that are defined in your current rates. Inside of your meter sizes screen, you can add, delete, change. Change is included as an ID change, or changing the meter size by rate, printing a list of your meter sizes, or closing out of the screen. Once all your available meter sizes are added inside of the meter sizes screen, the user then can go inside of the rates maintenance under the general options. Inside of each metered service, under the minimum step rates tab, a drop-down menu is now added for each individual minimum rate size. All available sizes are coming from the meter size maintenance screen. Once sizes have been added to each individual metered service, underneath each customer that has that metered service, going into the service information tab, and as an example is going into the water service, under the meter information tab, a drop down of the meter size will be available for the user to select. If the user has meter maintenance, the meter itself will have the meter size associated with it. As an example, going into the meter maintenance here, selecting the meter under the customer that I was just in, the meter size is located inside of the meter maintenance screen. When a change is done to a customer, and the tenant equal owner box is checked, when the OK button to save the changes is selected, the synchronized customer information screen has now been changed to be more descriptive. We are now listing owner information and billing information rather than just saying billing and owner. When accessing a metered or unmetered service, there is now the ability to test the rate that is associated with the service. When the test rate button that is located at the bottom left hand of the screen is pressed, a screen will be displayed that looks very similar to the test rate tab in the rates maintenance. From this screen, the user can enter a test usage, and then select calculate to see the charges. There is also the ability to change the meter size that is available for each individual rate. When performing a customer copy, there is now a new checkbox located under the service information to copy. The new checkbox is final bill. Previously, there were only penalty exempt and tax exempt checkboxes. The user can set copy preferences in the system controls under the Preferences tab by selecting Customer Copy Preferences and having the final bill option checked. Now, when adding a note into the system, a follow-up user is now specified for the note. This user is defaulted to the same name as the author, but is also able to be changed. This gives the user the ability to add a note and assign the follow-up responsibilities to another user. There is a user login search next to the new follow-up user field. The follow-up alerts program has been changed to now use this new field instead of using the author field. The follow-up user has also been added to the notes grid. The notes report also has a new follow-up users range. During the 15.0 conversion, the author fields will be converted into the follow-up user field. When the user is prompted with a follow-up alert or selects the follow-up alert tab inside of the toolbar, the user now has the ability to view or edit the customer for which the note is selected. When choosing the print option and choosing the customer service list, when the option to include service totals is selected, the service totals that print at the end of the customer list will print differently. Now, each rate will have a line for each metered size along with a count for that meter size that is included on the report. When choosing to print customer labels, when printing owner address labels, there is a new option to suppress duplicate owner labels. When this checkbox is checked, if the same owner address label has already been printed, the duplicate will not print. Since with the new 15.0 update inside of the bill pay history screen, a comment can be added to a customer history line item, when printing the customer history report, there is now an option to include history comments. When this option is checked, comments added to history line items will now print on the customer history report. When choosing to print the usage report, when the sewer service is selected, there is new options to select summer sewer usage and not summer sewer usage. One of the potential uses of these new options is to give the user the ability to generate a listing of sewer usages that were calculated by summer sewer. This report has also been modified to now have book totals for each book. In the Mail Merge options screen, an Only Mail Merge Budget Billing Customers option has been added to the Customer Mail Merge. This will allow a letter to be sent only to budget billing customers. This option is only available if the system has the budget billing module. A service balance report has been added to the system. The service balance report is located underneath the General menu, and there is a link at the bottom of the General task pane. The report has rate code, service abbreviation, and service type summary options. The summary options use the same default settings from system controls that are used by the trial balances and AR reconciliation report. Options that include on this report are customers with services with only positive balances, customers with services with only negative balances, customers with services with both positive and negative balances. The report can also be sent to Excel. The service balance report shows the current balance for a customer's services, and the service balance is broken out to show how much of the balance is remaining in charges, taxes, and penalties. A customer will not appear on the report if all of its services have a zero balance. Grand totals are at the bottom of the report. When printing the deposit report, The deposit report has been changed to include totals by service. The totals will now list all of the deposit totals for each service type that has a deposit appear on the report, and then a total for all deposits, and then interest totals for each service type that has interest appear on the report, and then a total for all interest, and then a grand total for all deposits and interest. When inside rates maintenance, when accessing any rate, the general load description has now been added to the screen. A new fuel adjustment exempt checkbox has been added to metered rate codes. When this box is checked, if a service is set up to calculate a fuel adjustment, services billed with this rate code will not get a fuel adjustment calculated. When printing a rate study, we have added an option to return to this option screen after the report finishes processing. A preference has been added for this option as well. When adding an adjustment, from the adjustment entry screen, there is now the ability to test the rate that is getting adjusted. This is accomplished by pressing the Test Rate button on the adjustment detail screen. Once the button is pressed, a screen will be displayed that looks very similar to the Test Rate tab in Rates Maintenance. From this screen, the user can enter a test usage and select a test meter size, and then select Calculate to display the charges. When adding an adjustment, we have added a new option to show adjustments entered during this session. When this option is checked, a window will appear showing all current adjustments added during this session. When a customer is marked as tax exempt underneath the Billing Information tab, or marked tax exempt in each individual service, when processing an adjustment for this customer, for that specific service that is tax exempt, or if the customer is tax exempt overall, all tax fields will be disabled. This will stop an unwanted entry of amounts in these fields. When printing the billing edit list, there is two new checkboxes located on the options screen: tax exempt, not tax exempt. The system has been changed so that all transactions get marked as tax exempt or not tax exempt depending on the status of the customer or service at the time the bill is entered. Please note that these new options will only work for bills and adjustments entered after the 15.0 update is installed. The new tax exempt and not tax exempt checkboxes has also been added to the billing journal. This change allows the system to now have the ability to print totals between tax exempt and not tax exempt transactions on the billing journal. One common use for this change is to get a billing journal for all tax exempt customers. Again, please note that this new option will only work for bills entered after the 15.0 update is installed. All transactions in the system before this release will be marked as not tax exempt. The monthly billing report also has the ability to report on tax exempt and not tax exempt billing totals. When viewing the bill print run totals, the book and account range that was used in the bill print screen is now shown on the run totals page. We have now added the ability to reprint the delinquent's transaction log that the user can choose to have printed after printing delinquent notices. The new reprint option is located underneath the File Utilities menu, labeled as Delinquent's Transaction Log Reprint. This will show the delinquent transaction log reprint menu item of all delinquent notice transaction logs in the history of the system. The delinquent transaction logs will be archived even if the user does not select the option to print the transaction log when printing delinquent notices. The user can double-click on the menu item or select and highlight and click OK, and then choose to select OK to print or preview to see the delinquent log. An owner delinquent journal has been added to the system. The owner delinquent journal is located on the delinquents menu off of the customers. The owner delinquent journal includes delinquent customers where the tenant does not equal the owner. The delinquent accounts are grouped by the owner name and address. This could be used to provide property owners with a list of their tenants who have delinquent balances. The report can also be sent to Excel if the system has a data dictionary module. The owner delinquent journal has also been added to the report scheduler. When printing the billing unbilled list, there is now the option to have the transponder number print on the unbilled list. There is also the ability to set preferences for this new option to be defaulted. A new high usage notice has been added to the system by selecting the Customers High Usage Notice menu item. This new program allows the user to generate a notice to send to customers informing them of high usage bill. Users have the option of selecting a book and account range, customer status options, service type options, the ability to include estimated usages, a read date range, and the ability to generate a high usage notice note under the customers receiving a high usage notice. After all the ranges are entered, the user would select the OK button. A grid displaying the list of all customers that have a high usage in that range will appear. There is a separate item for each service that was billed with high usage. The user will then manually select which items will get a notice. From this grid, the user has the ability to view or edit a customer on whichever customer is selected inside of the grid. Once the OK button is selected, the user will then be prompted to print the high usage notices to the printer. An example of a high usage notice will appear on the screen. The text for the notice is set up in the System Controls on the Statement Information tab. On this screen, there is a High Usage Notice Format button. On this screen, there is the ability to enter text that will print on each notice. There are up to 8 lines of 132 characters available for each service type. This gives the ability to tailor the text to the specific service type. When the notice is printed, it will contain the service information along with the usage amount, a grid listing the previous 12 usages along with a usage graph. Under the General AR Reconciliation menu item, the Only Print Customers with Negative Service Balance option has been removed from this screen. It has been replaced with 3 new options. The new options are customers with services with only positive balances, customers with services with only negative balances, and customers with services with both positive and negative balances. To have all customers with balances appear on the report, all three new options must be selected. If a user would only select the new customers with services with both positive and negative balance option, the report would only show customers that have multiple services where some of the customer services balances are positive and some are negative. These are customers which may need to have a payment adjuster made to them through the payment adjuster menu item. The report scheduler has also been updated for the new options. The layout of the AR reconciliation report has also been changed. The report now looks more like it does when it is sent to Excel. Each service is now listed on its own line to make the report easier to read. The receipt transaction log in real-time receipts has been changed so that it checks the new customer shutoff option for payment transactions, and if a customer is marked as shutoff, an asterisk will print to the left of the transaction type indicating that payment is to a customer that is marked as a shutoff. Here's an example that shows the asterisk next to a customer that is marked as a shutoff. If I were to close out of the preview screen of the receipt transaction log and access that book and account number, a payment was made when this shutoff box was checked. A legend explaining what the asterisk means will also be printed at the bottom of the report if there are transactions that have an asterisk on the report. The receipt transaction log reprint will also be updated with the customer shutoff status for payment transactions, so the reprint can also show the asterisk. The batch receipts edit list and simple batch payments edit list have been changed so that it checks the new customer shutoff option for payment transactions, and if a customer is marked as shutoff, an asterisk will print to the left of the transaction type indicating that the payment is to a customer that is marked as shutoff. When viewing a customer inside of customer maintenance, you will notice that this customer is marked as shutoff. Since that payment is existing for that customer inside of the batch receipts, when an edit list is printed, an asterisk will appear next to that customer's transaction. Also, in the batch and simple batch edit list, there is a new option to only print customers marked as shutoff. When this option is selected, only customers that are marked as shutoff that have payment transactions will appear on the report, and all other transaction types will not appear on the report. When this option is selected, the transaction type fields will become disabled. A preference has also been added to the batch receipt edit list preferences for the new only print customers marked as shutoff option. The receipt transaction log and batch receipts update and simple batch payments update has been changed so that it checks the new customer shutoff option for payment transactions, and if a customer is marked as shutoff, an asterisk will print on the left side of the transaction type indicating that the payment is to a customer that is marked as shutoff. The receipt transaction log reprints inside of the archive has also been changed to show the asterisk. When printing a receipts journal using the detail type print option, going to the last page, grand totals have been added to the receipts journal. The grand totals will provide a breakdown by transaction type and pay type. The transaction count, customer count, and amount totals for each combination of transaction type and pay type that appear on the detail report will be listed. There have been a couple of enhancements to refunds. They are as follows. An option in the system controls on the Cash Receipts tab. A new option has been added in the system to include address on refund transaction log. When this option is turned on, the customer's billing address will print on the refund transaction log. This will be useful for users that use this report to generate refund checks instead of having Bucks produce the refund checks. There is now also the ability under the File, Utilities, Refund Transaction Log Reprint has been added. The refund transaction logs will be archived even if the user does not have the option turned on in the system controls to have the refund transaction log print during refunds. Viewing a refund transaction log, you can see here where the address now prints on the log. When performing a write-off through either receipt posting or batch receipt posting, there is now the ability to have the system automatically generate a note for the customer. When this box is checked, a note text can be added along with creating a note alert for customers, receipts, or billing, and also the ability to include write-off amount on the note. The defaults for this new feature are in the System Controls under the Cash Receipts tab to automatically generate a note for a write-off transaction. A note text can be defaulted along with options to create a note alert and to include write-off amount on the note. There have been multiple enhancements to work orders. They are as follows. A new option has been added to the preferences under work order maintenance to automatically check print work orders on update when adding a work order. For an example, when this option is checked, when in work order maintenance and selecting add, the print work order on update will automatically be checked. There is now the ability to set the default service type when adding a work order. The default for the service is set up in the security preferences. On the user information screen, there is a drop-down list for the default work order service that has options for each service type, along with options for first service and no default. When the first service option is selected, the adding of the work order will work the way that the system always has. It will default to the first service for the customer. When the no default option is selected, no defaults will be selected. If a service type is selected and a customer does not have that service, the service will not be defaulted. For example, if server is set as default and a customer does not have a sewer service, the service information will not be defaulted. There is also a Select First Active Service checkbox on this screen. When this is selected, the work order program will default to the first active service for the customer. The Work Order Status Report Options screen. There is now the ability to enter in a work order technician range. The technician has also been added to the report. When generating shutoff work orders, when the option Print Transaction Log of Created Work Orders is selected, a new option will be enabled to include meter and transponder number on transaction log. When this box is checked, an additional line will print under each transaction listing each meter number and transponder number for the service on the work order. When in meter maintenance, when entering a meter size for a meter, a drop-down list will list all the available meter sizes for the service type. If the meter is installed, it will only list meter sizes that are on the associated rate code. This will ensure that a valid meter size is entered for the meter. Previously, when adding a meter, the size was defaulting to 1. Now there are defaults and system controls on the service information screen. Inside of Inventory Maintenance, when printing the inventory list, totals have been added to the inventory list at the bottom of the page. The totals are the total number of items, total quantity on hand, and total quantity on order. There have been numerous enhancements to installed backflow devices. They are as follows. When editing or viewing an installed backflow device, a Post-Test Results button has been added to the Installed Backflow Devices screen. Pressing this button will allow the user to post a test result for the installed backflow device that is currently being accessed. The button will only be enabled if the user has update permissions to post backflow test results. When editing or viewing an installed backflow device, an email field has been added to the contact information in Installed Backflow Devices. When the contact information is set to billing address or service address, the email field will be prompted with the customer email from the Billing Information tab in Customer Maintenance. When the contact information is set to owner address, the email field will be populated with the owner email from the Owner Information tab in Customer Maintenance. When the contact information is set to other address, the user will be able to key in an email address. When adding or editing an installed backflow device, the user now has the ability to create a new backflow device in this screen. The user would select this ... button next to the device code, which will prompt to add a backflow device. The button to create a new backflow device will only be enabled if the user has update permissions to backflow devices. An option has been added to the CAS certification export addresses screen to exclude final build status customers. When this option is selected, customers with a final build status will be excluded from the export address list file even if the customer is still marked as CAS applicable. The calculation of the available lines per page has been enhanced, resulting approximately 6 more lines per page on reports throughout the entire system. This will potentially reduce the number of pages that are required for reports. There is also the ability to print reports to a PDF. On the Print Options page, there is a new Print to PDF option on the print window that will be enabled for reports that can be printed directly to PDF. When the Print PDF option is selected, the printer name, printer properties, number of copies, print to file, and preview options will become disabled. The user will be prompted to specify the location and name of the PDF that will be created. By default, the PDF will be created in the Cubic Documents default directory specified in System Controls, and if no default directory is specified, it defaults to the Documents directory in the Cubic Data Dictionary. Basically, any report that already has the print to file or preview options enabled on the print window will also have the print to PDF option enabled. The print screen Shift plus F7 and print desktop Shift F8 also has the ability to save as a PDF. The last change that we made to the Cubic 15.0 update is the conversion. The main conversion screen has been changed to no longer maximize automatically, so the user's desktop is not completely blocked during the entire conversion process. The main conversion screen was also changed to give it more of a modern appearance. The individual file conversion programs have also been changed with the way that the scrolling of the records being converted is displayed to try to minimize some of the flashing and blanking out of the account that was occurring. We at FREY & Company would like to thank everyone who responded to the Cubic survey and the beta testing of the product. The ideas and suggestions that we receive from our users are the driving force behind the changes that are implemented into Cubic. Thank you.